Prospect 1. The Atlanta Braves.
Coming in at number 1 on the Atlanta Braves, shocker, Ronald Acuna, outfielder. Number 2, third baseman, Austin Riley. Number 3, starting pitcher, Luis Gohara. Number 4, starting pitcher, Kyle Wright. Another pitcher, a couple more here. Number 5, Mike Soroka. Number 6, Joey Wentz. Number 7, Ian Anderson. Number 8, Colby Allard. Number 9, Max Fried. And number 10, Touki Toussaint, all starting pitchers. There's a lot of starting pitcher value in there, and there's a lot more value down the list. There was a couple names here that are going to stand out to Braves fans or just fans that are kind of in the know that I didn't mention. Christian Pash is one that is going to jump out to a lot of people because he's one of those guys that everybody. I think he might be a better real life player, a real life prospect, considering his defense and whatnot, than he is in fantasy. But that's not to say the fantasy people aren't incredibly aggressive on him. This is a guy that has not hit a homer in 2 seasons in the minor leagues, and he's had almost 700 at-bats. But he stole 32 last year, and he had a pretty good average. And people like, the plate discipline. They like the swing. They think some power can come, but I don't think the power is going to be there enough, and I don't know if he steals enough bases to become Billy Hamilton. I'm not saying I don't like him. It just wasn't enough for me to go inside the top 10 over just the elite starting pitching that the Braves have.
Yeah, making me see Touki on this list. I'm just very angry about it. But Ronald Acuna, he's number 2, which is super annoying, because Otani's number 1, and Otani should be on these lists. Well, I know he is.
Well, and I'd also say, James didn't hold back. He put Acuna over Otani. He did it anyway.
Acuna over Jose Altuve, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. We talked about that in the league. But I'm just saying is just because Otani's on there doesn't mean everybody is putting Acuna number 2. I gave consideration to having Acuna at number 1 over Otani. There's so much there, and you know what? At the end of the day, the safer option might be to just go Acuna at number 1. I wouldn't argue anybody. If you said, I'm taking Acuna 1, I'd be like, cool, man. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I understand your point because, Otani's coming over. He's got all kinds of hype, but, Japanese pitchers pitch less. We don't know if he's actually even going to hit at all at the major league level since he was good for like a season and a half in Japan, and, major league pitching's different. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Acuna is the best prospect in a long time. Like, how would you compare him? Yoel Moncada was everybody's, sweetheart.
Man. I still love him. To be frank, Acuna might just be number 1 after I give some more consideration to it. Like with Otani, we talked about him with the Angels, but just Otani has the ability, 2 abilities here. He's the ability to change fantasy as a whole, but he also has the skill sets. This isn't, and I'm not trying to crap on this guy, but we're not talking about like Brendan McKay here. Brendan McKay with the Rays, who that's great and all that he's a two-way player, but at best he's a decent first baseman who might have plus power. He might almost be like, I would see like Mike Moustakas at first base, and at best he's like an average starting pitcher type of guy. When you look at Otani is those on steroids. We're talking about a guy that can fly around the bases, hit balls out of stadiums, above the Mike Moustakas range, but also as a starting pitcher has the potential to be a top 10, fantasy ace. So you take those things into consideration. That's where Otani jumps in and says, well, he has the potential to change the game in general. But Acuna kind of has the same thing. He is a special talent. I've seen him so much. I've almost used him. I did this with Mackenzie Gore in my entire stint last year of just kind of like watching players. And I'll take the guy that I think is the best, and then I start to compare every other player to this. And I try to find the differences. I try to find how much more did this guy establish himself over anybody else. And Ronald Acuna was just above and beyond any hitter I saw in 2017 in person as far as a prospect goes. The power, the speed, there are some issues there, but he really is a generational type of talent. And as far as Yoel Moncada goes, I think they're similar. I think Acuna could have a better batting average than him. I think he could steal more, and I think they could be similar in power. And I love Yoan Moncada, and so I would put them in the same general range. So Acuna 1, 2, 3, anywhere in that range. I wouldn't argue any of it. Same with Otani and same with Vlad Jr.
All right, so they have a lot of other guys that are way up high on your list. I mean, why don't we go with Austin Riley and then talk about Gohara and then talk about one other guy to gush in here? Because, I mean, otherwise we'd be here all night.
It's a good point.
I got stuff to do.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Austin Riley, big old third baseman, 6'3", 220. This is another one of these fall league guys. I got to see a lot of these Braves actually out here in the fall league between Acuna, Riley, Max Fried, Tuki Toussaint, Austin Jackson. All those guys were out here. It was great. And Austin Riley, he was one of what was so interesting about him. He continually grew on me. He was one of those few, young. I know he did it at 19 years old. He was hitting bombs. I think he hit 20, hit another 20 in 2017. He's within 0.04 of his average both years. He's consistent. And his body almost seemed to get better. He was a little boxy to me when I first saw him. But then by the end of the fall league, I don't know, he just kind of he had trimmed it out a little bit. He's an athletic first baseman. I think he could play first base. This is a 25-plus homer guy. Average is going to be a concern. I think he might be closer to a 260 average in the majors because his swing can get long, and that's going to be a problem. But he's just got massive raw power that just destroys balls. So I'm very aggressive on him, and I wouldn't put it past them with how aggressive the Braves are to have him up this year at some point, but he is the future third baseman of this team. Maybe it's in July.
Who did you comp him
to? Just now?
Yeah. Or did you?
I don't think I did.
Well, who would you comp him to? Like Evan Longoria or somebody like that?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, I like that actually. Like an old school Evan Longoria type of thing. Like Scott Rowland jumped into my mind.
Oh, okay.
Like good old Scott Rowland. Yeah, something in there. Just these big third basemen. Like maybe. Oh, here's another one. Prime Troy Glaus.
All right.
That type of guy. He's got some speed. Dude hit for the cycle in the Arizona Fall League. But he's not going to steal a whole bunch. He's going to strike out. His average is always going to be in question. That is going to be the determining factor. If he hits for 275 or above, we're talking a top 3 round fantasy pick. If he hits in the 260s, he's going to be in the range. He's going to be in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, maybe more like Mike Moustakas, that type of stuff. But I think Austin Riley is going to be a fantasy contributor for sure. You said Luis Gohara. Luis Gohara is big old fastball guy. He looks like he's going to stick in the rotation. I always thought he might be a bullpen guy, just big old size. He get comped to CC Sabathia, and when I see those type of guys, I don't know, just where's the work ethic, the body
type.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The body that kind of concerns me when guys get to that place. But dude, he was good last. I mean his majors weren't that awesome.
I compare to CC Sabathia.
Yeah, me too.
My butt isn't as big because if it was, I'd probably be a major league pitcher. A lot of torque in there, but
torque, not twerk.
Yeah, not torque.
Okay, just making sure.
Torque.
But Gohara had a 2.6 ERA in the minors last year. 147 strikeouts over 123 innings. He can control the walks. I loved, and a huge thing for me, especially for impact for this coming year, is that he got 30 innings under his belt. I think that was key. Kept it under a 5 ERA. He was striking out guys. He was minimalizing his walks, which I think is a huge, huge point. So I think Gohara he could be special. His offerings are, his fastball is, that's where the bread and butter is. And that's always why I kind of thought maybe this is going to be a guy that ends up being in the bullpen. By the way, let me realize this. Gohara was with the Mariners. This was like a sell-off the Mariners did, trading Gohara. It was one of the dumbest trades, too. I'm trying to remember what it was, and I can't remember. But it was like some idiotic trade that somehow the Braves got Gohara, and Gohara has moved up to being one of the best pitching prospects kind of in baseball.
All right, you get one other guy to gush about.
Just one?
Choose wisely, and then we'll go to, you can talk about players and values and sleepers, but you get one other gush guy.
Okay, then I want to gush about Max Fried, because just getting to see him in person.
Welsh is trying to trade him to me. That's why he's gushing.
Yeah, do I have Max Fried in a way to trade to you?
You in the 3-sport, you do.
Oh, I do have Max Fried.
You told me you had him, and there's somebody else you were offering me earlier that you gushed about today, or someone else that was on you. Oh, Sixto.
Yeah,
I talked about Sixto. You offered me both these guys you want to gush about him. I wonder why.
Stop trying to take all my guys. No, but Max Fried, former San Diego Padre, He did not have a good 2017 in the minors. 5.5 ERA. Lost his ass off. 2-11 was his record. Then he got to the majors. 3.8 ERA. He got 4 starts and 9 appearances, 22 strikeouts over 26 innings. The first game I saw him, I've got video of this on my Twitter, but when he threw that curveball, and I believe it was to Francisco Mejia, I like buckled my knees, and I just started laughing, one of those type of things. I love this kid's curveball. His curveball is a strikeout punch. I did not see really anybody getting on top of it, and I saw about 4 starts of his. His fastball, the curveball, fastball, they complemented each other so well. He was able to get on top of guys. I was so impressed based off of just kind of how he struggled in the minors. You know, he really struggled, but then in the majors, he got there. Pretty decent control. It got away from him occasionally. Changeup is all right, but the curveball and fastball, those 2 pitches are going to put him places. Big old lefty, 6'4", 200. I think he's going to get time in the majors this year. I don't know if Roster Resource has him with a rotation spot yet, but I believe he can solidify that this season.
All right, so impact for this year. I mean, the Braves are, they're better than some of the bottom barrel teams, but they're still, they're not pushing for a playoff spot or anything. So who will make an impact this season? I mean, obviously Acuna. Who else? Yeah,
I mean, Acuna is a guy that could break camp or at least within the first month. Gohara, Gohara is probably going to break with a rotation spot, so I would say easily him. Austin Riley has the potential, but I wouldn't bank on it. Max Fried, who I mentioned, is one. Pending injuries, maybe Alex Jackson. Alex Jackson completely revitalized his career. Another Mariner that the Braves own. He was a former outfielder. His hit tool was the thing that got him there, and it all was just a garbage pile with Seattle. Goes to Atlanta. They move him to catcher. It came back. He was bombing homers out here in the Arizona Fall League. Average is going to be a major issue like many catchers. He's very like Brian McCann-like to me, so I could kind of see that. So maybe he has some potential, but I would stick with Gohara, Fried, and Acuna as far as getting your impact.
All right, sleepers and values. They're not as deep as the Padres, obviously, but no. I guess they're halfway. But how high do you have? I know you haven't sat and put it all down. You kind of only broken it down by division. But how high is this? A top 5 organization, the Braves, because of that top end talent?
I think it's right around there. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's kind of bummery in fantasy when you look at it is there's not enough position talent, and that's what you're looking for.
A lot of pitchers.
A lot of people don't like to do pitchers. The common theme is go 30-70 pitching to hitting. So I think a lot of people might end up owning a Brave because if you're going to swim in that pool, from Kyle Wright, who was a top pick. I really wanted the Diamondbacks to take him. He might end up being the best of this entire group. We just haven't seen enough. He's a very polished college hitter college pitcher. I remember him going up against Brendan McKay and watching him in college. He's solid. Joey Wentz is maybe, if you talk about sleepers, he might be the biggest sleeper on this list as far as starting pitchers go because he has got an arsenal that might light up this coming season. 2.6 ERA last year, 152 strikeouts and 131 innings. We're talking, one more full season. Maybe he goes to Double-A this year. He might contend in that strikeout competition, as far as like Alec Hansen struck out 180. Don't be surprised when Joey Wentz strikes out 170 this year. So I think he's a rotation guy. He's a big sleeper. And so Soroka, Wright, Wentz, Ian Anderson, Allard, all guys I would consider. Touki Toussaint is the enigma of this. And I know you hate it because he was a Diamondback, and we traded.
We gave him away.
For Bronson Arroyo.
Right. We had Bronson Arroyo also, so we moved him and Touki so they would take his contract. It's just a pathetic trade.
It was.
It's Kevin Towers nightmares, that's all.
Touki is a tale of 2 different players. I've seen him be incredible. Like he has got. He has a feel for pitching. He's a big movement guy, fingers in the different spots, move that fastball around, curveball. The offerings are very impressive. The first 2 times I saw him, I was like, well, Tuki's back because I had kind of fallen off of that, but that curveball was booming. Changeup looked good. Fastball was flying. Nobody was getting hits on him. He was a part of the 1 out away, almost no hitter that was out here in the fall league. Then the next 2 starts, it all fell apart. His control got out. His fastball was just riding straight, and he got lit up towards the end. I think Tukey might be going the way of the bullpen. I think that's where he might end up. I think they might try to control him through 1 inning. He exclusively kind of pitched in relief in the Arizona Fall League, and the Braves are so dominant in pitching. I mean, we put out a whole rotation, Gohara, Wright, Soroka, Wentz, and Anderson, and we didn't even mention Allard and Fried. I think Tukey might go the way of the bullpen, so I'm a little concerned there. But if he can get control of whatever was making him just completely lose it, in the second inning or in the occasional bullpen relief appearances, his stuff is awesome, and I really do. So I don't know how to feel about Tukey Toussaint, so he's a post-100 guy.
So who else are our sleepers or values in this?
Last couple guys we can just mention for consideration. Drew Waters. Drew Waters is actually, he's a part of one of the reasons that that whole Capalella issue happened. They offered him, they did some tampering stuff. But he's a really talented center fielder. 6'2", 183, just turned 19, hit 278 with 4 homers and 6 stolen bases last year. He's a very toolsy outfielder. I've got him around the post-250 range. William Contreras, that would be Cubs Contreras' brother. William hit 290, 4 homers, 1 stolen base. Hit tool really seems to be coming along. I'm kind of interested in him. Actually, our boy Marky Mark in the ITL Army, a buddy of his, Drew Lugbauer, he was kind of touting him throughout the whole year. Drew's kind of a dude. Hit 13 homers in 222 at-bats while hitting 261 out in the Sally League. So I kind of dig Drew. And if you want to go really, really deep, Giancarlos Encarnacion, 6'3", 195, 19-year-old, hit 321 in 2017, 3 homers, 7 stolen bases. This is a guy that is going to move up systems. Most people are not looking at him unless you do the probably 400-plus minor league guys. That would be a super deep guy I'm looking at. And I think that's it.